Hello, I am Marissa Fichter, and we are here at Central Gardens of North Iowa. I'm here with Shelly Codner, and she works for the Iowa Waste Exchange. It's really quite a gift to have her here and do this interview because there's a lot to learn from the Iowa Waste Exchange and what they've been doing for the past 30 years now. I think it's, yeah, 1990 was when it was established. So we'll kind of dig in, share a little bit about what the Iowa Waste Exchange is, what they're doing in Iowa and how they got started, and what they're currently doing that makes them unique. So here we go. This is Shelly, and she'll tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi, I'm Shelly Codner. I'm with the Iowa Waste Exchange, and I have 16 counties along the I-35 corridor, one county on each side of I-35, and I start at the Minnesota border and go down to the Missouri border. Our primary goal is to reduce landfill waste, and I have 4 amazing ladies that I do that with. Paige Alish, who is in western Iowa, Aaron Boyd, who is based out of the Waterloo area, Alicia Presto, who's in Cedar Rapids, and of course Julie Plummer, who's in the Quad Cities area.
I did notice when I looked at the map of your zone that you had quite a long stretch there. So in each county, what are some things that you do specific to Central Iowa?
Well, specifically to here, every year I'm in Cerro Gordo County. Every year Lee is kind enough to ask me to come and present at Fresh on Fridays, which we obviously weren't able to do this year. But also last year was the inaugural Preservation Sunday, so I came and presented there as well. But our primary goal is to reduce waste from the landfills, and folks that have a material that's too good to waste will give us a call. And those materials range from anywhere from tanker trucks to stuffed animals. The stuffed animals are, of course, are more fun than sludge. And we also do food waste is a main priority with us right now. We're trying to reduce food waste, but also because of the current economic climate, we're also trying to find edible food for folks that are food insecure.
That's quite amazing, especially with the storms that have just ripped through here. Iowa Waste Exchange, if I understand correctly, has saved over 3.5 million tons of product waste from going into landfills, and that equates to, it was $86 million worth of material that you're reusing instead of wasting for companies to buy new product, right?
Right, since 1990.
Which is amazing if we look at the local economy, but also just if we look at the space we have in our landfills, it's amazing that we could waste that much in 30 years. So what are some of your kind of inaugural things that you guys did to get started as Iowa Waste Exchange, and where did it birth out of? And then flowing from there, how did you get to doing stuffed animals as well?
The Iowa Waste Exchange was a pilot project of Indian Hills Community College, and they started with 1 rep out of there, and the program was successful, so it continued on. The program, which is a program of the DNR, is free, confidential, and non-regulatory. Again, we deal with all kinds of materials. We also provide technical assistance for grant writing. We do upcycled workshops, like we're going to do a lunch and learn type program today to make bags for those food pantries and food banks. What else did you want to know, Marissa?
How did it switch from, how did it start? What types of materials did they start getting as waste?
Well, earlier when it started, recycling was fairly new.
Yeah.
And so they had the typical materials that you think of when recycling: cardboard, newspaper, paper, those type of things. So as we have evolved and we've gotten continuously improved with recycling, we have kind of captured all of that low-hanging fruit. And so now we're dealing with technologies that we never even imagined that we would have. Electronics devices, cell phones, computers. And then there always seems to be some different technologies that are on the horizon. Windmill blades is a big one right now that we're dealing with. Diatomaceous earth from biodiesel. So it's a wide range. We still do the stuffed animals and the t-shirts. So like I said, it's a wide range from industrial to residential.
I saw that you were actually featured on the DNR website too, with working with schools and setting up recycling bins at schools. How did that project come about?
The DNR, the Iowa Waste Exchange, and the Iowa Department of Education worked together on a pilot project that was launched in 2017. So we had 11 schools that signed up to be part of the pilot, and we did waste sorts at those school cafeterias. Based on the waste sorts in the schools, we made recommendations to the schools, and they enhanced their waste reduction and recycling programs based on those recommendations. So we still do continue providing assistance to the schools upon request, in addition to the waste sorts, which will likely not be possible this fall. We have found them materials that they can use. For example, yesterday I matched some cubicle workstations with various schools throughout the state to use for social distancing in the classroom.
That's awesome.
So in addition to providing the technical and education, we also find materials for them or find a home for materials that they don't need anymore.
That, I think, is what caught my eye too about Iowa Waste Exchange, is because you're taking products that people don't even think about reusing or don't have the energy to find somewhere else that their materials could be used, and you're actually connecting them with people who need them. As I was reading some stuff on the website, I was just continually amazed with how you're connecting things from sheet metal to reusing t-shirts. It just is all over the board. So, hello, sorry, we had some technical difficulties, so sorry if the editing isn't wonderful. It's not my main hobby, I guess. So, yeah, we were just talking a little bit about how we can get involved. And so I actually have been doing a lot of research lately on how to go waste-free or just zero waste in life. And one of the main resources that I've been looking at a lot, she consistently is talking about how in the 3 R's, the reduce and reuse and recycle. Recycle is last for a reason. We want to reuse and we want to reduce. And so you guys really step in the reusing and repurposing section of that versus sending things to a landfill to be recycled. And so how are ways that we as people in our own journeys trying to go zero waste or have less waste, how can we partner with Iowa Waste Exchange to reduce and reuse and recycle?
Well, first of all, we have 4 R's, and we go according to the waste management hierarchy, which is what you were just talking about. So ours is reduce, reuse, recycle, and renew.
Oh.
And the renew talks about composting and bringing things full circle. And because we're at the gardens, we know all about compost. One of the things that I greatly appreciate is when different agencies and entities and organizations invite me in to speak. I have more of an audience. At those presentations, I always need volunteers too, so that's also a way to get involved. In addition to that, the very most important part of that hierarchy is to reduce. So there's a lot of things that we can do personally to reduce, not only on our generated waste, but also water conservation and energy conservation. I'm sure you know the logical steps to reduce is to buy things with less packaging, not use as much stuff. When you're talking about reusing, sometimes we get materials in that are just too good to go to the landfill, like the t-shirts that we're going to use later today. But also, sometimes we have to think outside of the box of what to do with something, because there really isn't a recycling outlet for that. I'll give you an example. Last year at the gardens, I did a presentation that was using old tractor discs, and we made garden flowers out of them. So there really wasn't a market for those plastics, but we had a great time using them here, and folks took them back home to decorate their gardens with.
What has been the most unique or odd thing that you've had a call about lately?
Well, I can't tell you that one. But I would say one really exciting project that's on the horizon is that I've been working with an artist in Des Moines who's doing a exhibit, an installation in Des Moines to raise awareness for the homeless. So I've been collecting or finding mattresses and old pillows for him. But we can't find a lot of old pillows, and obviously because of the climate right now, it's not something that a lot of folks are comfortable with. So we're going to potentially make pillows out of poly feed sacks for the installation. So that's kind of something real exciting I've been working on lately.
That will be very impactful. And do you know a timeline yet for when that'll be all ready?
I do not.
Not quite yet.
Time.
That will be really cool to keep an eye on. So we'll have to, on our page, maybe link that when it comes out, because that's unique and spreading awareness about another really impactful issue in Iowa right now as well. What are some things that have made you passionate about this? We talked a little bit earlier about how this wasn't your initial career goal or anything. So how did you get involved with Iowa Waste Exchange, and from there, what keeps you going and keeps you as passionate as you are about this?
Yeah, I definitely did not seek being a dumpster diver or a garbage guru when I started professionally. The most exciting thing for me is when we're making an environmental impact, but when we're also making a social and civic impact. So the most ethically pleasing and morally satisfying part of my job is to be helping those populations that are in need. For example, right now today we're going to be making some bags because of the food insecurity issue that Iowa is facing right now. Some of the other things have been, sending books to hurricane victims, sending Bibles to Cuban missionaries, things that could serve a better purpose than going to the landfill.
That is amazing, and just continues to show how when we come together we can meet needs that are unconventional, or really just a beautiful way to reuse things that normally would be rotting in a big pit in the ground. So thank you for what you do with that. What have been some of your favorite successes through Iowa Waste Exchange over the 20 years you've been with them? 17 years.
There's so many. I'm not exactly where to start. Again, those ones that are helping those that are in need are the ones that that come to mind. Helping those who have been affected by natural disasters, helping those who are food insecure, helping the homeless. I do a lot of exchanges with some of the homeless shelters on materials like blankets and clothing, and I also certainly enjoy meeting Iowans at Reuse-A-Palooza, which is at the state fair. And that event is something that 400 of our friends come to, and we all make crafts all day on a Saturday or Sunday of the fair. I also work a lot with the universities. Iowa State University, for example, they're constantly calling me with different projects. They also do Sustain-A-Palooza once a year, so I love visiting with the college students and again, doing crafts, upcycled projects, and visiting with them about the future of sustainability and waste reduction and recycling. So those are some of the highlights, but there are many, many, many.
You mentioned in your personal life that you're quite a crafter as well, so I'm sure getting to combine your two passions is really fun, just getting to be creative with products that you know would normally be waste. That's quite a gift that you have.
I think it's a chicken and an egg thing, so I'm not sure which came first, the job or the passion for crafting.
That's so cool. Okay, last but not least, well, before we go make some t-shirt bags, what is on the horizon for Iowa Waste Exchange, and how do you see that preserving Iowa for the better in the future?
Well, we are certainly doing things a little bit differently than we normally do right now, but we are available to help anybody that needs our assistance. We are obviously concentrating right now on some major historical things, wood waste, helping those in need due to the pandemic and also because of the storm. So that's kind of at the forefront of what's happening with us at the moment. But as always, we are interested in reducing food waste. That's a targeted waste stream of ours. And getting that food waste to better uses if it's edible, or composting it for a greater use like the gardens.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Later in the preservation celebration, we will be doing a presentation too on composting, so you can definitely see how to get involved with that. And then we also just want to encourage you as business owners and as people who are just living life to contact Iowa Waste Exchange if you not only have needs, but also if you have waste that you're not sure about how to reuse it or renew it, or even how to recycle. You can find their website is the iowadnr.gov/FABA. And so you can contact them with needs. There's a map on there that shows who your corridor representative is, so that's really nice. But Shelly Codner is ours here in North Iowa, so be sure to contact her if you have any needs. And we'll go make some t-shirts.
Thank you, Marissa.
Hello, we are still at Central Gardens with Shelly Codner, and we are going to be making some t-shirt bags. She's prepped every stage of 2 different styles of bags, so that you can see how to make t-shirt bags and donate them to food banks or just another way to reuse your t-shirts. So here we are.
Do you want me to clip this on here?
Yeah, that'll be great.
I don't know how. Like that? It's
think
going to
so.
be too close?
No, I think
Okay,
that should be
perfect. Hopefully it's not too loud. So as Marissa stated, a lot of the food banks and food pantries around the state right now are in need of, first and foremost, edible food, produce, fruits and vegetables, as well as non-perishables. And one of the things that the Iowa Waste Exchange does, and is a priority at the moment, is to find edible sources of food for these folks, but also to help them with attaining the supplies that they need to deliver these foods to those that are in need. So one of the things that we have done is use upcycled t-shirts, and these t-shirts are actually new t-shirts that are misprinted that I obtained from my counterpart in Cedar Rapids, Alicia Presto. So thank you, Alicia. But we were making bags out of those, and I'm going to show you how to do that very quickly. I've got 2 different styles. One is the plain bag style, and the other is the drawstring style. And we're going to use these to put our food products in. You can sew these as well, but I'm going to show you how to do the tie version for folks that don't sew. And the very first thing that you saw me do is I have taken the t-shirt and folded it in half. Now I'm going to take a rotary cutter, and if you don't have a rotary cutter, you can use a scissors as well. And I'm going to first cut the sleeves off. And I'm going to follow the seam and just cut these sleeves off. Now I always save the sleeves because there's other projects that I can do with them. For example, I use sleeves to make these little drawstring bags for chemo caps that we made for cancer patients out of upcycled t-shirts. So you can always use the sleeves for other projects. So we're going to hang on to those. And then the next thing that you do is we're going to cut this neck out. And we're just going to use our rotary cutter or scissors again. And we're going to go around the curve of the neck. And this is going to form the handles of your bag. And I apologize, it's a little windy out. So this forms the handles of our bag. The next thing we're going to do is turn the t-shirt around. And we're going to cut off this bottom seam. And we're going to go straight on the seam and just cut straight. Now, we're also going to save this, and I'll show you what we'll do with this in a little bit. The next thing, and as I said, this was very, very easy, is we are going to use our scissors or a rotary cutter to cut strips at the bottom. It's similar to making a tie blanket or a tie pillow. And I would suggest that you make your strips about 1/2 inch wide. The more strips you have, the more stable that your bag is going to be. So you just cut strips like so. You can use a straight edge if that's a little easier for you. Then we're going to take our scissors, and there's going to be a couple of double spots, and I'm just going to cut those. On the ends primarily. And the very next thing that you do then is you just tie the strips. Now this is a very good project for all ages because it doesn't require a whole lot of skill. If you're a teacher and you have students, it's something that you can do with your students to help your local food pantry. So you're just going to just tie the strips. Just go down the rows, go down the row and tie the strips. And when you get done, it is going to look like this. So all these strips have been tied. One thing that I like to do, regardless if you're sewing it or tying, is to reinforce that bottom seam. So if you're sewing it, you want to use a zigzag stitch or a serger, or if you're tying, you can cross tie those strips with the next set of strips to make it a little stronger. The other thing that I like to do is turn it inside out to hide the logo, and that is the first bag. Now I used an extra large t-shirt to kind of be able to show you a little bit better what it looks like, but this can hold up to 50 pounds of food, and it's because it's so stretchable. And you can see, we'll put this in, this is only 25 pounds. Of canned goods and non-perishables, and as you can see, there's still room for more. So that's definitely something that holds a lot. It is important though that you reinforce those bottoms so that they don't break open. I'm going to show you a second bag for food that's traveling a distance or going to a mobile event. Some of the food pantries prefer the drawstring style bag. So instead of this one is going to be the opposite direction. So we're not going to cut off this bottom seam. What we're going to do is cut right directly below the sleeves. So again, you can use your rotary cutter or your scissors and just cut a straight line directly below the sleeves. And then of course you can save this for other projects, which I will do. And now we're going to do our strips at the bottom here. So we're just going to go ahead and cut those. Again, you can use a straight edge. The closer your strips are together, the more stable your bag is going to be. And cut the ends once again, because they're going to be doubled on the sides. And like our last bag, you just start tying those strips. And again, I would strongly suggest that you, once you get done tying them, you cross tie them to make the bag a little bit more stable. So when you get done tying those bottoms, you'll have something that looks like this, if you can see that. So what we're going to do, again, I like to turn them inside out, and we have the seam still. We're going to take our scissors and we're just going to cut up to the stitching on that seam and up to the stitching on that on the seam on the opposite side. So one on each side. Then I like to use a yarn darner, which looks like this. My poor yarn darner has been through the ringer, but I don't want to throw it away. It's all taped up. And we're going to go ahead and use those seams that we saved from our first bag. If I can find them.
I think they're on the edge of the table.
Here we go.
Oh.
Well, I had one already cut.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to take, well, I guess I'll use this one. We're going to take that, and we're actually going to cut it to create our ties for our bags. So normally I would cut it all the way down. Then we're going to stretch this to create our tie. And that's what I did with the seam. Then I'll take my yarn darner, but you can also use a safety pin, and we're just going to push this through that seam on the first t-shirt. And I like to use a binder clip on the end so that I don't lose my end and have to start all over. So I'll do that. And we're just going to run it through that slit that I made with the scissors all the way through. And again, a safety pin works just fine. I prefer to use a yarn darner. And then you come to the bridge and you got to keep going through that way. The slit on the other side. Going as quickly as I can, and we're going to pull that through. Like so. So we have our two sides. We're going to make those even, and we'll knot them together. And kind of even out the ends. Then you want to do the same thing going the opposite direction. So you'll have pulls on both sides. But what you want to do then is make sure you turn it inside out like I showed you. And this doesn't look like a very big bag, but again, this can hold 25 to 35 pounds of food. And once again, I will show you with everything that I took out of my cupboard before coming today with these heavy cans. And you pull it, and there you go. And so these are handy when the food's going to travel, if they're doing a mobile distribution. And some of the food pantries prefer these. So, and that's it. And that's how very simple it is.